UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast on the United Federation of Podcasts. I am your host, Amy Nelson, and joined with me is Patrick Devlin. Patrick, how are you today?
I'm doing as good as I was on the last recording.
I know, listeners, we are recording these two together. They're just going to drop. And so if you listen to the first one, we're doing the same as we were there. Yeah,
I'm pretty much just as good. Everyone's still just as sick. And so nothing's changed in the hour.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, I did get to see Bevy, and she's looking good.
Yeah, she actually is up and around now at least. But, we're only feeding her bread. She's like a pigeon at this point.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is in between break. Do your kids go back January 6th or sooner?
Something like that. I don't know. I know I go back January 2nd.
You know, there were some schools up in Utah that go back on January 2nd, and I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to, but so the way New York City works is the New York City schools are not open. However, the janitors have to be back on the 2nd to start getting the school ready. We're only allowed to use the school at night if a janitor is on staff for the day. So because they're back and because we had some unforeseen complications, which are the school forgot to tell us about dates we couldn't use the school, and we had booked dates for those, and they told us like last minute, oh, well, you can't use the school next Thursday. So we had to cancel that school night and move it to January 2nd.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got a day off, I don't know, a couple weeks ago that I couldn't care less about. Now I have to go back on January 2nd. But I am working again my regular job, which does not take a break. I got off on Christmas Day. I'll have off on New Year's Day, and then that's it.
I know. You have to work New Year's Eve.
Yes, every year. I work Christmas Eve, too, every year.
You know, people have asked me, and I have asked myself, like, why am I still teaching? There is no money in teaching, listeners. There just is none. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I should do something with my math intelligence. And then I keep thinking, ooh, I have to work in the summer? Ooh, I have to work in Christmas? I mean, I get 2 weeks off, a week off at Thanksgiving, a week off at Easter, 2 months off in the summer. I mean, I do have a lot of time off. And so it is for that keeps me in education. It's not why I'm a teacher, but it is what keeps me in education.
Oh, it's definitely helpful. But can I just say that I know people are going to yell and scream and hate me at the moment, but it drives me crazy that teachers complain they have to pay premiums on vacations. It drives me crazy.
Like,
I constantly see people complaining about if they go away Christmas week, it's more expensive. If they go away during the summer, it's more expensive. If they go away during Easter break, it's expensive, and that's not fair because that's the only time they have off. Well, guys, you guys get months off throughout the year. I get 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If I have months off, it's because I'm not getting paid and I'm out of work. So
exactly. No, teachers should not be complaining
they do all the time.
about
all the time. And then they yell at me for telling them to stop complaining about it because at least you have 2 months off in the summer to go away.
Exactly. No, I do not complain at all because
I'm not saying you were
very fortunate. Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, teachers in general should not be complaining because
like 80% of people I know ended up becoming teachers in one field or another, no matter what their major was to begin with. And I constantly see this pop up on my Facebook stream, and it drives me crazy because they're complaining that it's more expensive to go on Easter break. But guess what? I'm at work all those days.
Well, yeah, that's a holiday. That's when we have off. So, of course, no. Okay, well.
Right. It's also when the kids have off, so more families can go away.
Exactly. And when the kids are off, that's when the teachers are off. So, anyways. Well,
Ding, ding, ding.
Patrick, why don't you tell our listeners where they can get a hold of us?
You can contact the network at contact@UFPearth, on Twitter at UFPearth, and on Facebook. And we will be glad to respond to any comments you have on our Facebook page.
You know, it would be so great to get an email from a listener. That would be wonderful. We haven't received one yet. So,
well, that's because no one's listened to any of the episodes yet.
Well, this is a challenge to our listeners. Send us an email. We would love to hear from you. And we might read it on air.
As of the recording of this, we don't even exist yet.
Stop. Well, listen, we have a short trek to discuss, and there are a lot of topics to get through. So we're going to get through this, and we are going to talk about The Girl Who Made the Stars. So I wanted to know, Patrick, listeners, if you haven't listened to last time, I guess it wasn't last week, was it? Last episode. If you haven't listened to last episode, please go ahead and listen to that, because I'm sure we're going to be referencing that.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll sit here and wait while you guys do that. It's a pretty short episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, Patrick, you didn't like Ephraim and Dot. So tell me, what was your initial thoughts with watching this episode?
This one I enjoyed. I actually liked it from the very beginning. I watched it with, actually, you mentioned Bevy. Me and Bevy watched it together. And the sad part is when it was over, she wanted the next episode of Michael, but there is no next episode, unfortunately.
Aww.
So I had to explain to her, no, this is a one-off. But we both really enjoyed it. We thought it was cute. It was well done. It gives a good message. I just question Star Trek's use, and we'll get into it later, I guess, but Star Trek's use of folklore to tell this story.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we will get to it. So interesting that you talk about folklore, because that was it threw me for a loop. When I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? To me, this episode felt like a Disney, because Disney's always using, these stories. And this was just, to me, a very beautiful, well-told Disney story. And so when I watched this was the one that I just loved, especially compared to Ephraim and Dot. Like, this is definitely more my style of animated story than Ephraim and Dot ever could be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thoroughly enjoyed this. And I would agree that this is very similar to the method in which Disney tries to tell its stories. In that kind of narrative type of father teaching daughter way, which they've done a few times, or certain character fighting fear and then rising above. And we have both of those elements in this story, which is awesome. If spoiler alert, if you haven't watched Frozen 2 yet, but in Frozen 2, a main part of that story, I'm not giving it too much away actually, is the mother sings a song to the girls that they then remember, that plays later on in the movie. So we have that kind of element in a lot of Disney movies, and now we have that with the father telling Michael, the daughter, a story about a girl who conquers her fear, and because of that, she creates the stars. I mean, that's kind of how she makes the stars. That's the story of the name of the story. But,
Yeah. It's exactly like that. I felt like this episode was just taken from a storybook. Like, I think about Snow White or Hansel and Gretel, or, any of those that was originally written down as a story or folklore. I can't say that for some reason. Started as a text and then just ripped from the text and put into this cartoon. So
right, yeah, folklore, which is the word we both have been using, or fairy tale, or
fairy
one
tale,
of those kind of stories. You're probably more accurate with using fairy tale than folklore, but folklore was the first thing I thought of. But either way, so that idea though in Star Trek, in an advanced civilization, where they tried to avoid all religion for a long time, in Star Trek stories, was a little odd to me. It did take me out of the Star Trek feel of the episode, but I still felt it stayed true to Star Trek in the life lesson aspect of the story.
Okay, so let's just talk about that now, because we don't want to dance around the subject the whole episode. I absolutely agree with you that outside of the girl being named Michael, I would not have suspected this to be a Star Trek story because it is so out of the ordinary. And I didn't even appreciate that the kid's name was Michael. Like, to me, it didn't have a connection to Michael and Discovery. It was just more like this Disney fairy tale. And I loved it for that. But again, I don't know if it really was Star Trek to me.
No, well, they tried to put you on a starbase, right, to start. They kind of show you the starbase, and they zooms in, and then it's like the starbase is on the desk or whatever. And then
a model.
Yeah, then you see her wake up, and the father says Michael, and I checked the cast. It is Michael Burnham. It's not just some other little girl named Michael.
Yes.
I forget the father's name, but whatever, Burnham, And so this clearly happens before the attack in Discovery, where she loses both her parents. And but you're right. Once you leave that, and she can't use Alexa because she can't say Illuminate. Once you leave that fact, you're now into this fairy tale storytelling, and it's my belief, I guess, that in Star Trek they didn't do that much anymore. Mm-hmm. They didn't tell fairy tales to kids for life lessons. I mean, I guess if we tore apart all of Star Trek, we'd probably find examples of it being used, or even like how Data loves Sherlock Holmes, let's say, might be an example of something like this. But I just feel like this is not something that they don't teach kids fairy tales at that time. They don't teach kids folklores, and they would teach kids where stars came from, not that a girl found them. It's clear for anyone who's ever paid attention to science that stars were not created by a girl who got them from an alien fighting the dark. Mm-hmm. It's just not how it happened. So to tell that story, while the message is good, I don't believe it would be done in Star Trek.
Yeah, I agree. The message, I feel, is very Star Trek-y, but the story itself isn't. Because you're right. Like, it would have been great had Miles told Molly, a fairy tale, a bedtime story. This wasn't that. You're right. We haven't seen this fairy tale notion, this folklore, being passed on, because Star Trek is so science-based that we're not going to have these beliefs and, traditions passed down, I guess.
Correct. And I also believe that to some degree Star Trek has made a stance where over the years, not necessarily right now, but over the years, that doing that actually hurts society in the long run because people start believing in things that aren't necessarily real or true. Mm-hmm. And we're actually reaping some of the benefits of that nonsense now. I don't know if it's necessarily from fairy tales or folklores, but whatever. We have a lot of people who believe things that are just factually incorrect, and everyone's opinion is so valid that you no longer can distinguish between facts and opinions.
Right.
And I feel that Star Trek has always made a stance that they wouldn't do that for that reason. Whether that's right or wrong, you can argue that Star Trek's wrong in feeling that way, but I don't feel you can argue with me that Star Trek takes that position, at least.
Agreed. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you and feel that in this day and age, we are seeing, I guess, the byproduct of this folklorish beliefs. And you're right. When you said everyone believes that their opinion is important, no. Your opinion is not important.
No, it's not. It's not.
Our opinion is not important.
No, yeah. Right. You're right. And everyone's allowed to have them because you can't police thought. Right. However, it does not make them equal. Right. You're a math teacher. I'm not going to tell you how to teach math. I'm an electrician. If you tried to tell me how to put an outlet in, I'd laugh in your face. You can have your opinion about it. It doesn't make you right.
Right.
So.
Yep. Yeah. So getting to this Michael Burnham story and her father, like, was it effective? When I saw I guess I would say when I saw it the second time, I felt like when the Michael child, what did she say? She said, like, I feel like we're all alone, and, you know, that the dark was going to hurt her. That to me was foreshadowing of what we see in Discovery. And so